In the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, there are many overwhelmingly powerful characters such as Ryomen Sukuna, a four-armed calamity with the ability to transcend conceptual limits and cut through space itself, and Satoru Gojo, another walking calamity with the ability to erase matter with the wave of his hand. But there's only one monstrosity with the potential to reach invincibility, and maybe even beyond that concept itself at its full power. There is only one entity who stands in between our caste and them receiving the title of the strongest, this same entity testing all who challenge it in every way possible: strength, durability, intelligence, abilities, and more. This monstrous force of nature is none other than Mahoraga, the one who determines whether or not you truly stand with the monsters of Jujutsu Kaisen. And in this video, I intend to give you a complete breakdown to this character's stats, abilities, battles, and just an overall take to give you an estimate as to where he truly stands in the grand scheme of Jujutsu Kaisen and its cast. If you guys enjoy content such as this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and now, let's just get into the video. Before anything, I think it's imperative to give you guys the synopsis of what Mahoraga is exactly, as it's not a real character per se, more so a familiar. Mahoraga originates from the cursed technique of the 10 Shadows. The 10 Shadows provides its user with one shikigami, or in other words a shadow, to help them in a battle as a familiar or a pet. And although there are 9 other shikigami you can obtain, they have to be obtained through rituals that involve its users directly combating and defeating the shikigami themselves. These shikigami can be obtained in any order, and that each of them serve different purposes in battle and have their own abilities. Mahoraga is the 10th and final shadow, and like all others, it needs to be attained through defeating it in ritualistic combat. The catch here is that Mahoraga has never been defeated by anybody in a ritual besides Ryomen Sukuna himself, the strongest sorcerer in history, which says a lot about its strength alone. Mahoraga is typically used by 10 Shadows users as a "I have no options left and I'm going to lose, so I might as well take you with me" button, and it's never failed at doing this until again, Sukuna would enter the equation. Mahoraga stands out as a familiar in the series due to its immense strength, and again, always rocking the entire story whenever it's used. It's also important for me to jump into its trademark ability before anything else, because this ability determines its stats and abilities and just everything else about the monster itself. This trademark ability of Mahoraga's being its ability to constantly and consistently adapt to anything thrown its way, combined with its immense durability and regeneration. Mahoraga is stated to be a monster that can adapt to any and all phenomena, the speed of its adaptation varying depending on how complex the phenomena is. For example, Mahoraga would likely adapt to Maki's punches and attacks very fast, while on the other hand, it may take a lot of time for it to adapt to Maki's Soul Split Katana, as the soul properties and powers are much more complex than punching and kicking in Jujutsu Kaisen. This makes Mahoraga extremely dangerous, as really, you need to either be Saitama to beat him with nothing but physical strength, but besides this, supernatural abilities are required, as Mahoraga would more than likely adapt to your stats quickly, as we could see with both Dborah and Gojo. Mahoraga's adaptations have no limits as well. Although it had always been speculated that Mahoraga can adapt to many things but not everything, Modulo would directly confirm that Mahoraga does have the ability to adapt to the existence of his opponents himself, more than likely making him completely immune to anything that his target can throw at him once completed. Lastly, you can sort of tell the progress of the adaptation through Mahoraga's wheel spinning on its head. Each time it spins, it makes progress, and the rate at which it spins depends on how much it's engaging in battle. And if you thought Mahoraga's ability of adaptation was scary now, then I have to tell you that I only explained one half of its most powerful ability. The other half lies in generating the blueprint to counter whatever he's adapting to. The best example of Mahoraga's counter technique lies in his battle with Gojo alongside Sukuna. Mahoraga was deployed the entire battle to not defeat Gojo as quickly as it can, but it was deployed to survive and develop a blueprint for Sukuna that would allow Sukuna to defeat Gojo and bypass his infinity. We see that Mahoraga is eventually able to adapt to the infinite space barrier that Gojo always has up and launch a slash that would allow him to bypass it, cutting Gojo's arm off. Although this adaptation took some time to complete, it's not really an issue when you realize that again, Mahoraga is near unkillable. It needs to be destroyed with a single, instantaneous, massive blow before it can begin adapting to whatever you're trying to do to it, because if there's even a single speck of this monster left, its wheel will remain, and it will completely regenerate. It's a true problem for anybody who doesn't know exactly what they're doing when they're facing this monster. With the foundation of Mahoraga's strength finally being covered, we can now get into its stats. We see that they all vary depending on how far it's progressed in battle. When we first see Mahoraga's strength in Jujutsu Kaisen, as soon as it appears, it's ragdolling grade 1 characters without even looking at them, which does tell us that, without a doubt, it's on these special grade levels of strength bare minimum. As a 16-finger Sukuna appears to fight Mahoraga right after this, we see that it is able to launch Sukuna places like all over Tokyo and force him to block its attacks, with its strength being so high that Sukuna outright admitted that a 3 to 4 finger version of himself would more than likely be unable to keep up with it. Despite this, 16-finger Sukuna is a completely different story, and he does show that he is far beyond Mahoraga without even really trying. A full power Gojo during the Shinjuku Showdown would bully Mahoraga in the same exact way, even with the assistance of a calamity shikigami known as Agito. Despite this, Gojo would still feel the desire to either block or dodge its attacks, which does show its threat level even compared to some of the most powerful characters in Jujutsu Kaisen, but this isn't a Mahoraga who's been allowed to reach near completion. In the sequel series of Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo, Mahoraga faces someone named Dborah, an alien from a different planet who has no idea how Mahoraga works, what it is, or any kind of folklore that can even give him a hint about Mahoraga. This makes the circumstances of this battle a bit different compared to both Gojo and Sukuna's battle with Mahoraga, and this lack of knowledge is why Dborah did not know how to handle Mahoraga until it was way too late, allowing Mahoraga to not only adapt to his techniques, but also his stats. We see that Mahoraga, when adapting to Dborah, is actually able to damage him and reach those levels of strength that only the strongest possess, dealing enough damage to make Dborah think that he could possibly even lose, and causing him to go all out against the monster. From there on, the battle seems to be an equal back and forth, with Mahoraga only adapting more and more as it continues. With all things we've considered here and just seen alone, Mahoraga does have the potential to hang with the strongest characters in terms of stats, but again, it simply depends on how the battle plays out. If we take the Mahoraga that's adapted to Dborah and his stats, of course, he's top 5 in all of Jujutsu Kaisen in terms of strength, bare minimum. And alongside its insane physical strength comes even more insane durability and endurance. Firstly, Mahoraga's endurance is one of the best in the series, even unadapted, as we know that Mahoraga works as more of a instinctual feral beast that will stop at nothing to eradicate on its way. We see that in all of its battles, Mahoraga can be torn apart and blown to smithereens, and despite that, it moves forward like a Terminator, almost as if nothing has ever happened to it. It's safe to just straight up say that Mahoraga is one of those characters who has endurance like Yuji and Kenjaku, in which they can brush off any kind of pain and continue to fight with no problem whatsoever, although they still feel it for sure. Durability, on the other hand, is another story. Mahoraga is shown to be able to eat many attacks from the strongest characters, blocking attacks like a Black Flash from Gojo, or eating a red from him directly to the face and continuing to fight. Mahoraga's upper limits of durability, at least pre or mid adaptation, would be shown in its battle against Dborah, in which Dborah would be launching all kinds of devastating beams of light that would rip and tear Tokyo apart without no effort, even eviscerating all of Tokyo with a single light speed kick. Despite this, it would still remain intact and allowed to regenerate. Also, nobody would be able to withstand that kick in Jujutsu Kaisen, so I'm not considering this an anti-feat for Mahoraga. Durability for Mahoraga is always kinda hard to figure out because we need to consider adaptation and all throughout its fights, but I will say that considering its initial encounter with Sukuna in Shibuya, it does have very high durability to start with. And of course, with its ability to endlessly adapt to its opponent's stats, it only gets higher from there. With Mahoraga having fought Dborah and adapted to him, it's clear that he simply is on his own level at this point. Mahoraga also boasts some very great speed, as in every single one of his battle against 3 of the big 4 in Jujutsu Kaisen, we've seen that he had no issue in keeping up with them in terms of speed, and as the battle went on, it only got better and better. Mahoraga would go from instantly being skewed against Dborah to just, keeping up with him in a nice back and forth as the battle went on. Not only this, we would see that Mahoraga has been able to keep up with Dborah in their battle, even after his decision to move at sub-light speed, maybe even adapting to these speeds as we see that his wheels spinning faster than ever before. Even without these outlier kind of feats from the sequel, Mahoraga has always been able to be boxing with the strongest characters in the series. We've seen it be able to react to Sukuna's dismantles, and not only react to them, but also deflect them without much issue. Keeping up with Gojo alone is grounds for placing the Calamity at some of the highest speeds in all of the series, and again, its speed will only continue to increase to a level in which it deems satisfactory to deal with whatever obstacle may be in its way. Mahoraga, with its ability to constantly evolve, is a bit reminiscent of Saitama in how he constantly grows in his stats during battle, alongside the sudden bursts in growth whenever he's actually challenged or stressed, making it extremely formidable overall. Like all the other stats, Mahoraga is already one of the fastest characters in Jujutsu Kaisen, but he can overcome the gap between him and the strongest characters through simply adapting to their stats in the case of a prolonged battle. Next up is the intelligence of Mahoraga, which is more synonymous with its adaptation. From what we see of Mahoraga, it's more of an instinctual genius, one that learns as a battle goes on, and constantly displays an ability to decode the fundamentals of any concept and develop a counter to it on the spot. Its intelligence is similar to AI, developing itself endlessly even without the input of a user, while of course, feeding it anything causes it to develop faster than normal. Mahoraga's intelligence is constantly shown through its battles as it changes strategies endlessly, and again, has to figure out what exactly it needs to adapt to in order to end a battle soon after it begins. Of course, this mindless beast's intelligence can't be measured in terms of like doing a math test, but its battle intelligence is designed to be the highest in the series, as it even gave Sukuna the answer to defeating Gojo. Besides all of Mahoraga's stats combined with its adaptation, we have seen it be capable of performing more abilities than we think. When facing Satu Gojo, we would see Mahoraga eventually be able to develop the technique to cut the world. Of course, Mahoraga's ability is a bit different from Sukuna's binding vow, but it serves the same exact function, with likely less conditions to fulfill. As really, Mahoraga is simply changing the nature of its cursed energy to directly counter Gojo. Mahoraga also possesses a sword of extermination, a blade that is typically charged with positive energy in order to combat any curses in its way. Of course, being able to output positive energy would allow you to instantly one-shot any cursed spirits. That's about it in terms of extra abilities, but hey, Mahoraga certainly does not need any. With Mahoraga's abilities and stats covered, I feel as if it's important to cover the fight that demonstrates Mahoraga's strength to its utmost limits and really showcase how far its adaptation can go. This being the battle against Dborah, of course. When this battle begins, Mahoraga is summoned and Dborah instantly launches dozens of light beams that skewer it before it could even react, to which the adaptation process instantly began, and at an extremely fast rate, as Dborah fed it tons of light beams without even finishing it off. This is a battle that displays what happens when Mahoraga is pit against anybody who is unaware of Mahoraga or anything reminiscent of him on Earth. As Mahoraga begins this adaptation process, Dborah chooses to launch another beam of light, eviscerating the shikigami, to which it just instantly regenerates and the wheel spins once more. Dborah constantly attacks the shikigami, only causing its wheel to turn and adapt much faster. We see that Dborah launches light beams that completely overwhelm the shikigami in light, even removing the upper half of its torso, only for Mahoraga to once more regenerate almost instantly. The battle continues as if he's unaware of how Mahoraga really works as an entity, but soon enough, he does pick up on it. However, it's too late. Mahoraga has already fully adapted to Dborah's light technique as it is currently, allowing him to easily dominate the Cimmerian. We see through this domination that Mahoraga is actually adapting to his stats as he's able to punch and hurt him, and he has the speed to react to Dborah's movements now, unlike at the beginning in which he was skewered before he even realized it. However, Dborah does eventually decide to actually try for once in his life and emerges himself with this technique in a way that allows him to enhance his speed and move at sublight speeds. And of course, with force equaling mass times acceleration, this indirectly reinforces his strength as well. As soon as Dborah taps into these sublight speeds, he runs holes through Mahoraga, causing Mahoraga to adapt as Mahoraga constantly attacks him at light speeds. And the attacks end with Dborah launching a kick with so much force and speed that it launches a light beam, completely eviscerating a huge portion of Tokyo. This kick being done with the same amount of strength as Gojo's unlimited purple and Sukuna's flame arrow. That's how powerful it was. But unlike those techniques that took out Mahoraga, Mahoraga had already made a good amount of progress in terms of adapting to light this time around, resulting in it surviving the attack, but barely. This attack does cost Dborah a leg, but he regenerates easily, allowing him to continue battle. The battle goes on between the two, and although we don't get to see much from here besides Dborah coming in and out, learning new techniques and trying new things, we do see that Mahoraga is constantly adapting to whatever Dborah is throwing out, and even at some point finds Dborah's ingenuity and growth to be such a threat that he would eventually resort to adapting to the existence of Dborah. However, Dborah responds to this threat with understanding and unleashing a domain expansion. Mahoraga without a doubt is not only one of the greatest threats in Jujutsu Kaisen, but probably fiction. When he plays Mahoraga against many of the characters in the story, they cannot stop him. Maki would find herself being adapted to Nier instantly with a lot of her physical attacks, and cannot eradicate Mahoraga with any of her abilities or weapons. Hakari does not have anything that would completely eradicate Mahoraga. Yuta only has Jacob's ladder, to which more than likely cannot put down Mahoraga instantly. Uraume certainly does not have anything to defeat Mahoraga in one blow. Maybe Kenjaku and Kashimo can do something, but I doubt they'd walk away victorious, and even Yuki Tsukumo would have to resort to the power to consume the entire world in order to defeat Mahoraga. When it comes down to it, there's an undeniable truth. Mahoraga to this day still serves as a test and a gatekeeper for the title of the strongest, and of course, only the strongest can overcome this character, as it tests not only your power, but your intelligence, stats, and every part of your character to determine whether or not you truly belong with the best. Mahoraga can vary from top 10 to top 5, but if you had to ask me, top 5. With that said, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.